All right. Can you DM me a list of questions?
I will DM you the Google Doc that Corey sent me.
Thank
And
you.
then we can rotate, I'll do the odd numbers and you can do the
Yeah,
even
it sounds right.
numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're live.
Okay. So I'd like to welcome you all to the first of many Democratic presidential primary debates. I am your first moderator, the Acting Attorney General John Richards, and I'm joined by Representative Michael Sturgis. And we'd like to give the candidates and our debate participants about 2 minutes to introduce themselves. And would anybody like? We will be flipping a coin to decide who will go first. So, Mr. Sanders, which side would you like to call?
Heads.
Heads. Okay. I'll flip it. The call is tails. Mr. Windsor, you will start. You have 2 minutes. Mr. Windsor?
Okay. Sorry. Hello. Former Governor Mason Windsor.
Okay, I guess that was his introduction. Mr. Sanders, you may do an introduction if you have one.
All right. Well,
Your
thank
time
you.
starts now. 2
Thank
minutes.
you. Thank you, Mr. Richards, and thank you, Mr. Sturgis, for both moderating this debate. My name is Robert Sanders. I'm a candidate for the presidency of the United States, and just so happen to have just joined the Democratic Party now, and am now, thanks to Mr. Windsor joining the race, in a fight to be the leader of the Democratic Party. Let me tell you why I think I am the best leader for the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, for too long, in real life and in this community, has been associated with failed economic systems of the past and failed politicians of the past. It is time that we change that. It is time that the Democratic Party connect itself to a movement of family values, of liberty, and of America first. Now, that line is said often in campaigning. It's a very clever one to say. It's been said by presidents such as Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, and others. Make America great again. But what does that actually mean? We have seen the decline of this country over the last 40 years through Democrat and Republican leadership, through independence on a local level, and more. Therefore, the problem must not be with parties, but with the personalities, with parties of personality. I spoke in my announcement speech about the fact that I, in an ideal world, would not like to join a party of personality. Unfortunately, that is the world we live in. And I think at this point, we have an opportunity to join the Democratic Party as a movement of people committed to national America first, and I am running to bring those people into that movement. Thank you for joining us at this debate, and I look forward to a discussion on the ideas.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to both of our candidates for their introductions. Now I'll go over a set of rules we have. So each topic will be given. Each candidate will have 2 rebuttals to use against each other for each topic. They'll give a statement that will last 3 minutes, and then rebuttals will last 1 minute and 30 seconds. That'll be those. So rebuttals or such as that will be counted as 1 minute 30, and normal answers to topics will be counted as 3 minutes. So, Mr. Sturgis, if you would like to ask the first question.
Alrighty, I'll start. As immigration reform is important to Democratic voters all over the country, I have two questions for the Democratic candidates here. Mr. Sanders, do you agree with the provisions made under the Fair Immigration Standards Act of 2021 made by the bipartisan set of congressional members of both Democrats and Republicans and signed by President Brett Cawthorn?
I do. But I think what we need to do is go just a bit farther with protecting our nation's border security and ensuring no illegal immigration comes through our border whatsoever at all. When we look at issues such as the drug crisis, issues such as inner city crime, black on black crime, education in the inner cities, a lot of this can be contributed to what is illegal immigration coming in and changing the culture of these cities. It's not a popular thing to say, but it is the truth. And what we have to do is ensure our border, being as though we are the richest country in the face of the world, is much stronger than any other country on the face of the world, proportional to our wealth. We represent a beacon of hope for many across the world. My candidacy, my presidency, does not aim to change that beacon or change that perception of our country here or abroad whatsoever. In fact, it aims to build on that perception, ensuring that when people come here legally, they come to a country, whether that be in Miami, whether that be in Dallas, whether that be anywhere in this country with a significant immigrant population, they come to a country where it's safe, where they can build a life for them, just as people in this country always have, and just where, and a place to where we can have a country in which all of those people which came here legally get ahead. I mean, we saw a situation in which we had this earlier on. I mean, you can look at Asian American families, you can look at Italian American families, you can go on and down the list. We had a situation where this was happening, where we had a true free market in this country, where people could be fighting for their own families, fighting for their life, for their liberty, and that was working phenomenally. It's when we allowed the oligopoly to take control of this market that we started to see a decline in that. So taking control of the market, ensuring we have a strong border through our surveillance capabilities, and expanding on the work that we've done with immigration, and ensuring that we have a true and honest beacon of hope here that represents the realities here in the country. Immigration is important to me, and it's important to the country. And if I'm nominated, then we will for sure be focused on securing our border and ensuring prosperity here at home.
Very well. Mr. Windsor, the same question.
As Senator Sanders said, I do agree. The borders do need to be strengthened, but it might stay the same as what it currently is. Because, yes, we do have illegal immigrants coming into the country, and also oh my god. The drug crisis is obviously, I personally don't like drugs, nor real life or throughout the community, but still people do them, which, as I said, isn't good for anybody. But also,
Are you finished with your time,
Is that
or
all?
although immigrants who come here legally, well, will obviously be granted citizenship, and illegal immigrants, I honestly have had stances on them throughout the past. Yes, illegal immigration is, well, illegal, but legal immigrants, I don't like to use words like illegal a lot for things like this, but it must be used. Punishment must be used for example, anybody who's coming here announced or without or
That's all the time. Okay.
Same
Mi-
question for Senator Sanders, then
Well,
we'll
if I-
move on to a different topic.
Well, I'll just.
Oh,
we
my bad, my
if I
bad.
could get a rebuttal.
Different question. What?
Oh,
What?
Mr. Sturgis, he'd here.
Oh,
So just
rebuttal.
one rebuttal.
Would you like a rebuttal,
I would, just a quick one. So I think this is,
Mr. Sanders?
not
1 minute 30 seconds.
so. We all understand nerves on a stage in front of people. I don't think anyone's going to be coming at you for that, so I wouldn't worry about that. But in terms of the policy, what I got out of that was what I see in the Democratic Party and Republican elites for so long. A refusal to call the problem what it is. An illegal immigration crisis in which we have a spike of illegal immigrants coming here, which in turn hurts American workers. It hurts American jobs. It hurts the American taxpayer. Politicians need not be afraid to say what's risky, to say what is true, and to say what is not popular in the face of such a great crisis. People in the past who have taken on such struggles, who have taken on such issues before and actually gotten something done, are people who have focused on the substance of the issue and said what is needed to be said, not what's popular at the time. I am a candidate, if the Democrats nominate me, who will not be afraid to say illegal immigration. I'm a candidate who will not be afraid to deal head-on with this crisis and to use every iota of my power as president to end the illegal immigration crisis.
Time. Mr.
Mr. Windsor,
Windsor,
would you like a response?
I will take that as a no.
All right.
Alrighty.
Should I move on to the next question, or?
Would you here? You can ask the next question, then I'll ask the next two.
All right.
Time starting now. Oh, never mind. Alrighty, he's gone for a second, so I'll answer the next question, or I'll ask the next question. Okay. So, what changes would you make to the act and the immigration system as a whole if you are elected as president? What would your administration do to change the act and change the immigration system? Mr. Sanders, we'll start with you. You have 3 minutes.
Well, thank you for this opportunity to expand on what I talked about in the more vague answer that I gave before. What we have to do specifically to deal and stop the immigration crisis is not only destroy completely the people who are coming in from this country. What is the drug crisis coming from? Where are these illegal immigrants and these coyotes coming from? They're coming from the cartels. I've introduced legislation in the Senate, which I believe just passed with 6 votes, one person voting against, that does exactly that. That addresses the cartel issue, that sends the Mexican government not only the proper things we need for dealing with these cartels on the other side of the border, but also will deal greatly with the drug supply crisis we have here at home. Dealing with the cartels will be a great step forward to dealing with this immigration crisis. And if elected president, I will expand on dealing with the cartels using my direct diplomatic power in working with the Mexican government and governments in Guatemala and other South American states to ensure that they have the security apparatus necessary, backed by the U.S. intelligence apparatus, to ensure we know where these cells of violence are popping up, where these organized violence are popping up, and how to deal with them properly. Because I think you'll find U.S. law enforcement does know who these people are, and we are actively not engaging with these people, dealing with them, because U.S. law enforcement doesn't have the resources or the leadership in the public eye to take on what will be an unpopular mission to deal with and end the drug crisis. Secondly, we also have to expand surveillance capabilities on the border. We have the entire ability to ensure we know as soon as someone comes across the border on foot, with a coyote or anything else, and who that person is. We have, in terms of what they are carrying, what their intentions are, and whether or not they're a threat. Once that can be established, once that technology can be established on the border, then we can expand the Border Patrol agency and allow them to, once we see a person coming across, whether that be with drugs, weapons, or children, apprehend that person, interrogate them, find out where they came from, and then, again, in coordination with the Mexican government, using the program that I talked about before, deal with the organized cell. That is a way to set up a system in which there's a process to deal with the inevitable, which is organized violence and crime popping up. But while keeping our country safe, keeping our borders safe and secure, and ensuring a safe and secure market here at home for people to participate in, and for people from Mexico, Guatemala, and all these other South American countries and these other countries across the world to come here and enjoy their life.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Mr. Windsor?
Thank you. So, first, I would like to apologize for my stuttering. I just got very nervous. And to answer, like I said earlier, well, immigration. Okay. Mr. Sanders said, guns, drugs, or even if you're just coming alone or with children, that if it's illegal, then yes, you could be arrested and sent back to your home country for that. But if you're coming in legally through the border with passports, coming for a new life here in the United States, of course you will be accepted in. But even if you're coming in with your passport and the official documents that you need to cross through the border, carrying any type of guns or bombs or drugs, you will most likely not be allowed in if you are not detected by the border security. And of course, illegal immigration is, well, legal, as I said before. It can't be stopped, though it might be. Things aren't impossible. Time travel, that is not impossible. It will eventually happen one day. So with illegal immigration, it can be stopped with A, strengthening the border, and, well, there's no B. Strengthening border security would be practically the only way to stop illegal immigration. Although illegal immigration will still be going on, it will probably be dying down a lot more than what it currently is.
If I could.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
1 minute
So,
30 seconds
I
starting
think-
now.
Thank you. This illustrates greatly the point of the America First movement. Now, many may disagree with what they've seen in real life of that movement, but the honest and true fact is that America has lost its center. It doesn't matter your party, it doesn't matter your ideology. Any objective arbiter of truth would agree that this America has lost its core principles and are seeing politicians say over and over again, strengthening border security, strengthening border security. Yet if you talk to the Americans at the border, if you talk to the ranch owners at the border, they will tell you firsthand, and I've spoken on the Senate floor about this exact thing. They've spoken firsthand about the fact that they are seeing coyotes, drug runners, human traffickers, people with guns. These are criminals, and it must be dealt with. This is not a situation that we've always had. That's not true. It's not a situation that we must always have. It's not even that challenging a solution. It just takes political courage. If I earn your vote in this primary, the Democratic Party will once and for all have the political courage to champion the America First movement, no matter how unpopular it may be, so that once and for all we can deal with these catastrophes which are ruining the lives of suburban America and urban America across the country. Enough is enough.
Alrighty. Okay, thank you. Alrighty. Mr. Windsor, would you like a rebuttal to that?
Thank you.
What would you like a rebuttal to that? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Sorry, your mic may be lagging out and I may not be hearing you. Okay, we will now move on to the next topic, climate change. Okay, I'll allow Mr. Sturgis to ask 2 questions and I'll ask 2 questions. So Michael, you can take over for now.
All right. Should I read the intro to it or just get to the question?
I'd say just read the intro.
All right. Now to climate change. Democratic voters have made the issue of climate change a top one in their minds, and as we see from Progressive Senator Henry Cunningham, who has to propose the Green New Deal resolution during his time in the Senate, the questions for the Democratic candidates are here. Mr. Sanders, what is your plan regarding climate change? Mr. Sanders.
All right. Well, let's just get this out of the way. The Green New Deal, or any push to end fossil fuels, will never become reality under a Sanders administration. Not once, not ever. Climate change is caused by human activities. That is true. But the environmental impacts of climate change are so that we could have preventative measures in place to keep the society which, unless you're talking about bringing us back to caveman era, will always produce some sort of emission, will always produce some sort of CO2. I mean, you look at the process of building solar panels, windmills, or any of these so-called alternative energies, and you'll see that they all include, at some point or another, natural gas or another fossil fuel to be constructed. The realities of this situation are people have a lot of money to make off of these so-called renewables being in place. The same oil companies are championing those renewables, and if those oil companies choose to pursue renewable energy, then I think that's great. But when we have a situation in which you don't have a free market here at home, in which you don't have which you don't have a safe country here at home, talking about proposing spending trillions and trillions of dollars every year on restructuring the entire energy grid when we have an energy grid that needs efficiency work already. I think that's quite a silly proposal. What we will be doing under my administration in terms of climate change are those preventative measures. If you look at any of the work I've done in the Senate that pertains to the environment or something that would have an environmental impact, we have provisions in there to ensure that this is done. The infrastructure bill ensures that when we're building new infrastructure, we're building it in a way that is done well, that is done with the environmental impacts, as if we're being real, the country has always done. So I think it's easy for people to blow this issue out of proportion when they see malpractice of an industry such as an oil pipe bursting in the sea. But it's also incumbent upon our elected leaders to be measured about this and understand that we have to make our energy grid more efficient before we take on any crazy substantive change such as that. And even when looking at such a substantial change, we have to be real about what kind of energy we're going to be putting into the system and how efficient that will be compared to natural gas and other things. And I also think we need to look greatly into, and what will be the focus of my administration, is nuclear power. If we can transition over to nuclear power while making our energy grid more efficient, then we have a situation in which the environmental impact of factories which are just in need of environmental impact repair from the EPA are less so, and then the effects of climate change are less so. And I think we could start to see that very quickly under a Sanders administration. There is so much support for nuclear energy in the Congress, and bipartisan support. And I think anyone who pursued such a solution would be met with great success.
Is that all?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Windsor?
Okay. So, of course, if this was real life, climate change will be dying down. Well, not exactly. Climate change will never die down. It can never die down, but it will also could if there was one way. I'm actually getting back on topic to the community here. Can die down. Fossil fuels are, of course, in my mind, not acceptable. My point of view are not acceptable because A, they're harming the environment, like it's basically common sense from what's been going on with climate change in the last decade. And also if we were to ever have a president that would ever pull away from the Green New Deal, that would affect the country very badly. Of course, that will probably never ever happen. But solar is probably one of the only ways that is one of the two ways that this could be fixed. As I mentioned earlier, solar. Got the name, honestly. I'm very sorry about that. There's another thing that we have to address on climate change. Of course, over 100 years ago, during the 1910s and the 1920s, obviously, people had no clue what climate change was, which would explain, like, major ships at the time were using coal. Now it's energy power. Engines, no coal. Because, as I've mentioned, coal
Your time
is
is
fossil.
up. All right, Mr. Sanders,
If I
would
may,
you like a rebuttal?
yes, please. So,
All right, Mr. Sanders.
I'm
You have
just
a minute.
a little confused as to what the governor's position is, and I'm sure the audience feels the same. Does climate change exist, or does it not? Do we need to get rid of fossil fuels, or do we not? I think the contradictions we heard in that were quite stunning. No one knew that there was going to be a politician who could flip-flop more than Hillary Clinton, yet here we are. Folks, I'll say it one last time, I'll say it simply. Energy independence through nuclear energy, and then environmental impact studies on all the infrastructure projects we do while rebuilding America and making this, yet again, the greatest country on earth, as it was in the 1950s, as it was so many times throughout our history in many different ways. Yes, we can always improve, but energy independence through nuclear energy, making sure we are environmentally conscious, that is how we make sure we have a future for our children, not investing trillions of dollars in silly things that'll never actually happen. Fiscal responsibility, energy independence, folks.
All right. Next question goes to Mr. Windsor. Do you believe the current president needs to take a more active step to combat climate change?
That I do agree with. Yes, he does. And what I'm trying to say here is I haven't seen any bills after I did leave the last time for my criticism. When I rejoined, I was scrolling through the president's bill signings. I have not seen that many on climate change. So, to him, climate change is a big thing, but not. The bills. So, let's backtrack a little. What I mean is, he knows what climate change is, but he wasn't really trying to do anything, pass anything through the House or the Senate. And this will be going back to real life. There, but he did nothing. All I can say about former President Trump, he basically did nothing for anything for climate change.
Well,
Now-
that, if I could, Governor, that's just simply not true.
Yes, Mr.
Governor, President Trump in real life worked extremely hard to make sure that we had these environmental impact studies and other things that I talked about. It's actually one of the things that he can be credited with. I mean, obviously he did January 6th. No one can deny that, and I probably wouldn't support him again. And no one's saying that here. But I think one of the problems that people have with United States politics is that it's one extreme or the other. We can't talk or have an honest dialogue, as I talked about in my announcement speech, about anything. We can't talk or have an honest dialogue about a politician, about climate change, about energy independence, about nuclear energy. Go on down the list. Because we have to attach ourselves to these personality politics, to these social clubs, yada, 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 which have a place in politics, but hyper-fixating on those things keeps us from having an honest dialogue on things such as the environmental impact of the policies put in place in the Trump administration or the Obama administration, go on down the list.
All right, is that it? Mr. Windsor, would you like to continue, or should we move on to Mr. Sanders?
You can continue to Mr. Sanders.
Alrighty. So, would you like to move on because you practically answered, or would you like to continue on that topic?
Move on, please.
Oh, I'm talking to Mr. Sanders right now.
Oh, sorry.
Is there another question on the topic?
It's the same question Mr. Windsor has.
Well, I think, yeah, as you said,
asked,
I essentially answered the question in my rebuttal, so I think that's all right.
All right. Okay, Mr. Sanders, what is your opinion on the Green New Deal proposed by congressional progressive Democrats?
Well, I articulated my position quite clearly in my original answer to the climate question. Never will trillions of dollars be wastefully spent under a Sanders administration. I am someone who, through fiscal responsibility, through strategic planning, plans to open up the free market to everyone in this country, ensuring we have a country of peace and prosperity, a strong border, and nuclear energy, none of which is included in the Green New Deal. In my opinion, my philosophical opinion on the Green New Deal is that it is completely antithetical to what the United States was founded on. Completely. We have a situation in which people are trying to spend trillions of dollars with the same companies who are currently in power that they rail against, who are supposedly creating the climate crisis. Quite odd to me. That sounds like corporate welfare, and that's something that is at the root of why we have the situation we have in this country. You look at the 2008 crisis, that's corporate welfare. You look at the 2020 COVID bill, that's corporate welfare. Folks, my presidency will mark an end to the corporate welfare. An enforcement of antitrust through my Attorney General, who will be someone who completely agrees with that, and will be one that stops these national scams, which are spending trillions of our dollars on wasteful spending programs. Enough is enough, as I said.
All right, is that all? Alrighty. Same question for Mr. Windsor. 2 minutes on the table. Mr. Windsor? Mr. Windsor? Same question.
I'm very sorry about that. I just had something to deal with. Sorry. Could you repeat the question one more time?
Yes. Okay. What is your opinion on the Green New Deal proposed by congressional progressive Democrats?
So, the climate
Is that all?
I want to skip this question because I'm stuck here, honestly.
Okay, then.
I'm sorry.
We'll move on to Mr. Sanders for our last question focusing this topic. Should the United States of America work alongside the international community in an effort to combat climate change? Mr. Sanders, 2 minutes is on the table.
As I've said before, the United States as is the point of what I've been saying, the United States will not participate in fiscal irresponsibility, not here at home, or abroad. The United States has immense influence across the world. I think it's quite sad that we're only talking about climate change when we have issues such as infrastructure, which I proposed a bill on infrastructure that opens up a complete program that will do great work, that doesn't spend an amount of money that we don't know will actually fix the crisis, but actually gives power to the municipalities and has them address the issue. We could have been talking about how to expand on that, how to do more infrastructure work, and instead we're here talking about climate change. I can tell you this right now and promise this to the American people and the Democratic caucus. A Sanders administration nor a Sanders nomination will ever convince the world to spend irresponsibly funds on something to which we can actually address the issue through nuclear power. I will use my diplomatic power across the world to ensure nuclear energy is where the world goes to as a whole. And I think, given the statements of other world leaders, we would find that a much more politically expedient task, and it would be much easier for us to accomplish across the world. We're not going to convince every country across the world to wastefully spend. And again, I think it was quite sad that we spent this entire debate. And I would hope that maybe we let one of these people, maybe we can all agree at the end of this round of questioning to let one of these people come in here from the audience and ask some questions, because we need to talk about the issues that the American people care about. And I'll tell you this right now, the American people are sick and tired of hearing proposals to spend trillions of dollars on something that they don't see affecting their immediate life.
Is that it?
Yes. I mean,
Mr.
to wrap it up, I'll be championing the world on nuclear energy, not spending wasteful amounts of money in their own countries.
Okay, Mr. Windsor, the same question is for you. 2 minutes.
First, to answer off the general question, yes. My reason for that, because what Senator Sanders just said is focusing on more infrastructure and actual climate change. I do recall if he said that. But climate change, yes, is obviously one of the biggest things humanity is battling with these days, behind a bunch of other things. And also, if, which would be most likely not, if I were to ever get elected, I would, of course, to help things, to help just with climate change in general. More bills for climate change, then I would ever do in my entire life. If I were ever elected to one of the chambers of Congress. And, of course, it would help that.
The time's up. All right. Now I want to wait, Mr. Sanders, would you like a response?
I would. Folks,
All right. 1 minute.
it's time to break the back of fear. We are not battling the earth, and we cannot presume ourselves to be as bold to do so. We are merely living here, and we can continue to live here peacefully through nuclear energy and other things, not spending, again, trillions of dollars on wasteful spending programs that ultimately will make our already inefficient energy grid, which I said I will address alongside the nuclear thing, more inefficient. That, to me, sounds like the definition of insanity. Trying something we've already tried over and over and over again and hoping to get a new result. That's not bringing the world together around a solution that will bring the countries of the world together, bringing us into a new era of peace and prosperity for everyone, in which a free market worldwide can bring countries and regions, entire continents like Africa, out of the third world. True leadership comes from the bold. And it's time to break the back of fear, remove ourselves from this crazy leftism that we've seen in the Democratic Party. I'm running for the Democratic nomination to lead sensible people like Secretary Monique and others into a new generation of prosperity and leadership for the people of this country once and for all. Mason Windsor does not represent that leadership.
Mr. Winter, would you like to respond, or? I'll take that as a no. Now I want to raise the issue of abortion. As we have seen from the Supreme Court, the Roe v. Wade, and actions to restrict abortion in the Commonwealth of Cambridge by Governor Trump and congressional Republicans like Robert Abdullah and Dick Cheney, who has either opposed legislation regarding the issue of abortion or to further restrict abortion rights on the federal level. I have the following question for Mr. Sanders. Do you believe in the right for a woman to get an abortion?
I'm a believer in liberty for every person in this country, freedom from government intervention. That's in the free market, that's in the personal lives of every individual, and that, yes, includes abortion. However, that does have exceptions. I am never, and I've heard this in the political sphere, you see some of those crazy leftists I just talked about will support government-funded abortion. I don't support late-term abortion, and don't think that at all should be considered in legislating. That to me sounds like killing children. That's very dangerous. I'm a religious person. I believe that every person has inherently, not just because of our Constitution, the greatest Constitution on the face of the earth, but because they are a human being, has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. How can we say that we're giving that to everyone when we, as a people, it's one thing to get an abortion yourself and fund it yourself, but as a people, as a public country, are funding late-term abortion. That, to me, is immoral. I don't support illegalizing the action of abortion or putting doctors in jail for the practice of abortion. People should be able to get that medical practice. if they pay for it themselves. That's a moral issue that they need to decide on their own. Allowing people to make those decisions in a country, that's true liberty. But funding those decisions is one-sided governance, an ideological government, and that is not at all what I support. I support true liberty for this country, true liberty for women. And that is what the American people, I believe, also agree with. What happened? Is there someone that wants to take over debate moderating? Or like wrap it up? Dick Cheney. Alright, Matt, we'll let you do it. There you go.
All right, where did Michaels leave off in the script?
It was an abortion question. Mason hasn't answered it yet.
All right, Mason, let me find it. Where is? I'm sorry. Is this the thing? Is this the thing that Henry made, or is this a completely different thing?
I don't know. It sounded like he just went on to different questions, but it might be there. Try the bottom, because it sounded like he's on the last question too. So check the bottom of it, maybe.
All right.
If not, we could just do closing statements too. I mean, we've been here for 50 minutes, so.
Yeah, I can't find it. Oh wait. Was it on the last topic of the?
I don't know.
I think I found something related to abortion. No, just move on to closing statements, or you want me to say it?
Well, if that's the question, I mean, I think you should probably say it.
Alright, I don't know exactly, but I'm just gonna. Would you let an
So we asked.
would you
All right.
Yeah, I can
My
see.
first and only question is: if you do win the Democratic nomination, and this is for Mr. Sanders, are you going to lead a pathway of conservatism or turn to the left of left-wing liberalism?
Well, I think, as you've heard articulated in this debate, what I represent for the Democratic Party, and thankfully, I've seen people who have been identified by the populists as leftists, but in fact agree with this. People like Michael Sturgis, people like Lucas Underwood, the leaders of the past Democratic Party have agreed to support the agenda that I have outlined here tonight and the agenda that I will outline in the campaign. I ain't capitulating for anybody. I have my policies. I will continue to have my policies. I have my principles, and I have my vision for how this country should be run. Whether or not the American people support that vision, we'll see 2 Fridays from now. Whether or not the Democratic Party wants someone to champion that vision, we'll see tomorrow. I think the choice that the Democratic Party has is a continuation of failed leftist policies which have ruined the competition in this community, ruined the competition throughout the Congress and the country. Or a situation in which we can have a type of vision supported by Brett Cawthorn, or the type of vision supported by the Sanders Coalition and other people like Davy Long. There are people in the Republican Party who agree with taking on the oligopoly, taking on the oligopoly which has ruined any chance of a free market in this country. People who agree with fiscal responsibility, but not just as a political term, true fiscal responsibility, not allowing something to pass because it's politically popular, but because it actually does something for the country. It actually spends money or creates a program in a way that actually benefits people's lives. We've seen proposals like the Green New Deal. We've seen others. That cannot be allowed to happen. And to answer your question directly, I will never capitulate to liberalism or what we've seen the liberalism become. Neoliberalism, essentially. That, to me, is integral in the destruction of this country and is part of the reason I'm running for president. I'm running against the neoliberal agenda on many sides. It's time to end the personality politics and move towards principle politics. I think my presidency would represent that.
I have a question, if you guys don't mind me asking it. I have a question. I have a question. If either you don't mind me asking it at this point. All right. So this one is for Rob Sand. What is your stance, and how will you approach gun control and gun safety in America? Because a lot of Democrats and liberals are mistakenly heard as taking away everyone's guns. How will you approach gun safety in America?
Gun safety in America. I think that's a funny term. Look,
Yeah.
We're seeing in Australia right now, in real life, not in DES, so I don't know if this is canon. But as a result of policies passed by this same neoliberal, neoconservative agenda, which has championed itself in Australia for a long time and has successfully taken away the guns, we're seeing government tyranny impose itself on the people. We're seeing a police state slowly, yet quite fastly, bleed itself into their society. I think if we start, and this may be an unpopular thing, I think if we start supporting policies such as that, such as taking away people's guns, that's not gun safety. Gun safety is teaching a child how to use a gun properly, when a gun should be used. That's gun safety. Gun safety is not getting rid of all the guns so that we can impose a police state here at home, so that the neoliberal agenda and the oligopoly has no public or revolutionary change. That, to me, is unacceptable. The founders of our country knew exactly what they were doing when including the Second Amendment. They knew that a situation like this would arise, and that people hungry for power and not progress would try and subvert that policy. I see myself in this campaign, and always have seen myself, as a champion for a movement against government tyranny and ensuring that those principles which have led to 250 years nearly of success in this country are never, ever subverted. There will never be a situation in which I support taking away anyone's guns. The gun violence crisis, which, cleverly enough, we don't talk about black on black crime. The gun violence crisis is, again, cartels, immigration, drugs. That's the inner city gun violence crisis. That's black on black crime. The school shooting crisis, that's a mental health crisis. Why are kids being driven to shoot up their schools? Is it really because their parents have a gun and they see it? Or is it because there are systemic issues within the school, a school system which pressures children greatly while not providing them with a space to learn and educate themselves? That's the real issue there. We need to fundamentally shift how we educate our students, fundamentally shift how we deal with mental health with our children. It's not the 1950s anymore, however great the economic success we had in that period is. We need to start addressing those systemic issues that people find themselves dealing with mentally. Start treating mental health and the addiction crisis as a health crisis, exactly as it is. I think you'll find that championing liberty, ensuring that people have those guns and aren't taken away, and doing those educational reforms, those fundamental reforms to our education and mental health system will deal with the school shooting crisis greatly. And then I think you'll find my reforms, which again we're passing the Crush the Cartels Act. Anyone who's listening to this, I urge you to pressure your congresspeople in the House to support this act. We're going to pass the Crush the Cartels Act, get that signed by the president, and then if I'm elected president, or if I'm not, again, this is something that I will continue to champion in the Senate, whether or not I'm elected president. But it's time that we have a president who champions this and really drives the national discussion here and abroad. A president who deals with these issues once and for all and doesn't capitulate to what's popular at the time for votes.
All right. Do you want to take it to Mason? You guys want to head to closing statements? Actually, you guys, Monique Henderson wanted to ask you a question for a while.
I'm okay with that. It looks like Mason invited you, so.
The technical difficulty.
Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? What is your opinion on the House Minority Leader Cory Booker?
Yeah. Go.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was on. What is your opinion on the Algeria situation? Recently, they have invaded the Western Sahara, which also brought in Morocco into the war. What do you think the U.S. should do in the region of North Africa as a whole?
Well, I answered the question first, but I'm glad to answer it again first. But I think maybe Mason should go.
Oh, okay, never mind then. I wasn't here then. Sorry.
Well, I just think Mason should answer the question first. I'll gladly answer the question, but I think Mason should answer it first.
Oh, okay. Mason, if you're good, if you can answer, be great.
Yes, I will gladly be happy to answer. Of course, what is happening currently over in Africa isn't acceptable, but the US should at least do something. It doesn't have to be humongous like World War II or Afghanistan. It should be something small, like either supplies or around maybe not few hundred, but some troops. Some supplies, troops. Um, Now, I was reading up. I don't particularly remember. Actually, never mind. That is basically all I have to say.
Okay, well, I'm glad to answer the question. I am the person who, alongside Senators Evans and Romney, sorry, still getting used to their new names, wrote provisions within the Algerian resolution, specifically the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th, the 6th, the 9th, and the 10th, I believe, all found in Section 3. These sections of the bill, in my opinion, are the most important. When it was signed a few days afterwards, I guess because of the understanding that it wasn't a resolution, despite the fact that it said resolution and read as such, didn't compute. A few days later, those most important provisions being banning Algerian goods, ensuring that our intelligence agencies know Algerian nationals who are here who pose a threat, who could potentially pose a threat to the United States and its national interests. So much more in this legislation, which I believe my staff gave me notes on the bill. I think I might actually have the bill right here. In fact, I do. All right, folks. I implemented the temporary travel ban to and from the United States for any Algerian national. I said it will undergo review after Morocco has retained Algerian territory. And I wrote the provision directing the president to ensure that we have entirely focused on this issue, on other issues.
Here.
Oops.
I guess not.
Hold on.
I guess did we just end this? He left.
Hello?
Oh, he's back. Mason. There.
Okay, I was talking, so the live stream heard that, but no one else heard that. So I'll just re-go over what I was saying. Okay, so I wrote the most important provisions, those provisions being the banning of all exports of natural gas, and ensuring that the Secretary of Homeland enforces that, and ensuring that any nation which joins the effort also joins in the gas embargo. This cripples Algeria. Any progress that China has made in that region will be crippled once this can go into effect, and once we have confirmation that the President of the United States, which to our knowledge right now has not made public statements saying that he's opened those diplomatic communications with the French, the Spanish, the Germans, and the Italians, which that was part of the resolution I wrote, trying to get them alongside this resolution. If I was president, this would have happened as soon as the crisis went down. I wrote this resolution alongside those other senators who wrote a couple of the other provisions within immediately as the crisis happened. I got this passed through committee, passing a resolution in the Senate, ensuring that this doesn't even have to go through committee and it goes immediately to the floor, and we passed this unanimously. That happened quick. That's true legislating. That's leadership. And there are a number of senators inside the Senate and inside the GOP, and I said this in my announcement speech, who represent that leadership. I'm running for president because I don't believe the president does. I believe there are people in his party who would agree with that. And I think when dealing with crises like the Algerian one or like the other emergencies we've had, we need quick and strong leadership which deals with them immediately. And I'm going to address something that the governor said, just very simply and plainly. Sending troops is a decision that used to be made in the most dire of situations. It took Japan bombing Pearl Harbor for us to send troops before, because we knew the realities of sending our men and women overseas to die for another country. That's a very heavy decision. And when we have air capabilities like we do right now, trying to make that decision becomes increasingly harder. I will not say or put anything off the table, nor will I give up my strategies. I think that's pretty idiotic to say publicly what my strategy would be militarily. But I can assure the American people that I have a military mindset. I know how to deal with this crisis, and I know how to deal with this crisis quickly and efficiently. I've shown leadership on this crisis already in the Senate when I was majority leader. I've shown leadership on other crises. And when it comes to crises in my presidency, if I am so honored to be elected, you can rest assured knowing that there is someone in the White House with an administration around him who is fully committed to making the right decision, pressuring the right people to make the right decision as soon as the crisis happens. This is getting a little ranty now, but the president didn't even pressure the Senate to pass the emergency resolution. It took the Senate, through my leadership, through me writing the resolution, to actually get that done. If this were real life, if this were a situation in which we had a 24-hour news channel, that would be top of the line news. The president waits for the Senate to pressure them to actually get some money in there. Issuing a state of emergency is just issuing a state of emergency. The people on top of their roofs, the people still in their houses, FEMA and every one of the agencies who could respond to one of those people has no resource or no authorization to do that until they have the funds to do so. Now, I've written legislation and it has passed the Senate. I just went through it right before I came on stage here. It just passed the Senate, I believe unanimously, or unanimously other than Harry Bennett at the moment, which will streamline that process, which will ensure that the president has the authority to authorize such emergency funds without the Senate. But the fact that it took the Senate pressuring the president beforehand, that's not right. That's not right for the people, and that's not right for the country. I know Mr. Long agrees with that. And if we're going to be dealing with crises like the Algerian one, in which, as I stated in the beginning of that, I've dealt and had leadership on the issue. I've spoken on the Senate floor about exactly what we should do. If it comes to the point where we need military action, it's not boots on the ground. It's not using our men and women. It's using our air and drone capabilities in which no lives are expended. We have the most awesome military in the world for a reason. And we can use it in a way that doesn't expend American lives for people in North Africa. But we will have operational control of Africa. The Pentagon is authorized under a provision I wrote in the Senate Algerian resolution to come up with a plan immediately after it being signed by the president to have operational control of Algeria and to give that state over to Morocco, which is in the resolution as well. The plan to do that is there. It takes the leadership and the courage, and we can do that without expending any American lives or continuing this audacious yet stupid policy over the last 40 years of unmitigated and unfettered intervention in countries using our nation's military and our men and women here at home.
Is that all the questions from the audience and everyone? I think so. I think everyone's been here for a while. I think we should go on with closing statements. Rob, would you like Mason? Would you like to close us off? I don't know how this works. I'm so sorry. You can go over the closing statement, Mason.
Actually, let Senator Sanders finish this off.
Yeah. Yeah, you can finish it off, Rob.
Hold on. I'm going to restart. Because the live stream, my mic was off. Folks, the Democratic Party has a clear choice in this election. A choice between shifting its principles, its policies, its virtues towards actually assisting the American people through liberty, fiscal responsibility, through actually addressing the issues and bold leadership that's not afraid to be unpopular in the face of what's right. I'm leading a movement which I feel comfortable in knowing is just. I'm leading a movement which I hope will take over the Democratic Party, win the White House, and lead those elected officials which I know are well-intentioned to understanding the progress is only made by the bold, and it takes action on the decisions that we have to make and telling the truth to the American people when they are wrapped up when hearing things like, well, the climate crisis is going to kill my children, or the education system is fundamentally broken and can't be fixed. That creates political apathy. We have an obligation to be politically engaging, an obligation to create politically engaging rhetoric, politically engaging communities, and we can do that through staying true to our principles, not allowing ourselves to get wrapped up in the personality politics, and actually addressing the systemic issues and creating a country based around life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and secure borders for every American in this country. If you agree with that message, if you agree that it's time for engaging leadership here in the community and abroad, I ask for your support in this nomination process. Mason Windsor is a good man who's been wrapped up in some crazy politics in his time, and I applaud him for standing on this stage clearly nervous. That takes serious guts. But at the end of the day, the Democratic Party needs someone who is committed to shifting the Democratic Party to one that's committed to the people, committed to winning actually for the people. That can happen in this country. We can make it happen. Support my candidacy for president, and that is exactly what will happen. Thank you for letting me be here today. Thank you, Matthew, and the many people who moderated. Sorry for the dead space. Robert Sanders for president. Also, I'm announcing my vice president tomorrow. So.
Yeah. I guess if you want to say something, Mason. And thank you for letting me host.
I would like, as Senator Sanders said, I would like to thank all the moderators today for hosting this. And it is the clear choice that Senator Sanders will be the Democratic pick for president. Yes, I'm very sad that that will happen, but I can see that. I can understand it. And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
I assume that ends today's debate.